Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Yes, it is. And really glad you're with us today. We've got Dr. Alice Benton. Hello, Dr. Alice Benton.
Hello.
And Becky Brown is in the studio here with me, and you can see all that on Facebook Live. It's right there. And we love getting to be with you.
And share it if you're watching on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
share that to somebody
do.
else. Let everybody know about New Life.
It's nice to share.
It is.
And I would just say this, that also today I'm going to be tomorrow I'm going to be doing our Life Recovery Today program, which comes on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the NRB network. And the reason I'm saying that is because Dave Stoop is the one that I'm interviewing on Life Recovery Today. So I'm interviewing the guy that is 50% responsible for life recovery. And it's really great. And the reason I bring that up is that, Dave has not been on for a while. And just pray for him and his health and his family. We love Dave so much and we miss him. But when he was back on radio for a little bit, we were able to do this program. And so that's at 11 a.m. NRB Network. I don't know what channel that is on your cable. And then you could also see it on, I think then it's posted on YouTube after that.
And liferecoverytoday.net.
Yeah, liferecoverytoday.net. You can see that. Dave's a very, very wise guy, and we hope and pray that he gets better.
He's a man of wisdom, not a wise guy.
He is, that's true. Speaking of getting better, we've put together something for you that we hope and pray will make you better in whatever you're dealing with. And Becky, but it's all about the brains, setting boundaries, winning the battles, and doing it based on the Bible. You had a thought about all of that.
Yeah, I think all of us are dealing with so much right now,
yes,
right? I mean,
we are.
Anybody who's listening knows there's a lot going on. And this is a day that you can start to make sense out of nonsense. You're going to learn some great information, but it's also going to be transformational because you're going to be able to go into a small group breakout to really talk through the different topics that Dr. Amen, Dr. Cloud, Dr. Townsend, Sheila Walsh, and yourself, who is so wise. I mean, speaking of wisdom, I mean, I think about
Take your time.
I think about all of us who are listening. I know we have so many of us that love what you share. Steve, you're so insightful. And just recently, the video that you shared yesterday about hope after the election really made a huge impact because going back to brains, boundaries, battles in the Bible, we really need to have some sort of clarity about our life, about our world, and because God's got a plan for each of us to impact that world. And so if you are having some struggles or you just need some clarity, go and sign up today. Brains, boundaries, battles in the Bible. It's going to make a difference.
Especially if you want movement in your life. When I hear you, the powerhouse team that's going to be speaking, when I hear all of you, I always get an action step out of it and the inspiration, the motivation, and then the God's word about it as well. And I get improvement every time I listen to all of you.
Well, thank you for that. Many people have read Boundaries, but, John and Henry have new material that they've developed, and they put it in the new edition of the book. Fred Stoker and I have new material from Every Man's Battle. And so there's going to be great stuff. Sheila spoke for us at one of our gatherings. People love her, and she's a great Bible teacher. And Dr. Amen was on yesterday, and he's got this brain thing down. I mean, he actually knows the parts, the medulla oblongata. He knows all these different places in there. He's able to point them out on a chart.
Yes.
You can't beat that. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. You can join us, 1-800-229-3000. 1-800, got that part, 229-3000. We'll be back with your phone call right after this.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said you either get help or I have to leave this household.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
I believed that I could do it on my own. I just believed if I tried hard enough and pulled myself up hard enough by my bootstraps, I could do it. It was a battle that I'd had all my life. I had to get help.
The Every Man's Battle workshop can be a trip to the sexual addiction emergency room. During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, November 7th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
The single most helpful thing was to realize that I wasn't the weirdest guy on the planet.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEWLIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Yep. We're back. Steve Arterburn here, and it is Dr. Alice Benton and Dr. Becky Brown. Well, we call you Dr. Becky Brown because there's nothing a doctor knows that you don't know. I mean, that's what it's all about.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, it could be.
I know how to refer to a good doctor.
One more thing I want to tell people about before we go to the phone, and that is that every day at 5 o'clock Eastern time, I do Going Deeper, and we're doing this thing on shame. And it would be a shame if you had shame and you didn't see this series on shame, because it's a lot of different segments. It doesn't last very long. It's not that painful for too long. But we're really trying to get rid of the shame. Imagine this. Imagine you're going through life and you have this, these weighted blankets that people get. Imagine you have a black weighted cape that you're dragging around with you all the time. That's shame. And you just, one day, somebody says, hey, if you do this and this, that cape will just fall off of you and you don't have to carry that around. That's what can happen when we get rid of the shame. Some people think that it's there. I used to think it was my job to show God how much shame I felt over what I had done. Not a good way to go. So that's all about going deeper. And let's go to the phones, and let's talk to somebody from your home state, Cleveland, Ohio. Well, it's your state, not the city. Yeah. And Mary is who's calling us. And Mary, how are you doing today? What's going on?
Good. I'm doing okay.
Great. A lot of people aren't, so we're happy for you.
Well, thank you.
How could we help today?
That.
How could we help?
Well, my question is, how do I trust my judgment when it comes to hearing from God?
That's a great issue to be dealing with, because that can really mess a person up if you don't get it right. What's God telling you?
Well, I was furloughed from my job for 6 months, and after that time, I was permanently laid off due to COVID. And I was trusting God. I knew He had a plan. I knew He had the plan for the whole time. During the time I was furloughed, I got a lot of things done that I had wanted to get done for a long time. And then 2 job offers came up for me. I did great on my interviews. I took the job that I thought God was giving to me that would set me up for my retirement, and was a good job with a non-toxic company, because the company prior was very toxic.
Okay.
So I worked there for a month, and I got fired. They didn't really even give me a chance to show what, my worth was. I didn't oversell myself during the interview. They knew that they were going to have to train me to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so that's my question. How do I move on knowing that, I really don't even want to get a job at this point?
Okay. So look, I'm going to give you one little basic fundamental problem, and that's this. When God speaks to you, right? Let's just say absolutely, we're not going to question that that's what God wanted you to hear. But when God tells you something, here's a great job for you, take that job, let's say. What he doesn't do, though, is then take control of every other person around you, and it's just going to all magically and wonderfully work out. You, I'm not saying this, but you could have taken the job that God told you to take, and maybe, you didn't connect with the people deeply. Or somebody there is, they don't like you because you're so spiritual, and it kind of makes them feel uncomfortable because they're not, and they don't want to be reminded of how crummy their life is or something. So you get what I'm saying? That just because God tells you something is good, we'll just assume that he did, it doesn't mean it's all going to work out, because people still have free will.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's
it
that?
reminds me of Moses leading the children of Israel.
Yeah.
It's like he's, on his way. It's a good thing. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they start complaining. And, and then all of a sudden Pharaoh's chasing them. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that happens. And in the end, it was a good thing. Mary, I would encourage you. This is tough. And I feel your pain. I would encourage you to grieve the loss of this job and avoid getting stuck in the what in the world happened place, because we get there.
I'm
we get.
trying.
I get it.
I'm
so
really trying.
What are you doing? What are you doing specifically to kind of move to the next place? Because you just said something about I don't even want to look for a job, and you obviously that's not moving forward. But at the same time, I can understand you feel a little gun shy. It's like, well, I tried once, and then this is what happened, and there's a lot of feelings that go along with being let go from a job. What are you doing in particular, Mary, that's moving you forward?
I am grieving it as best I can, but I guess the major thing for me was the disappointment of feeling like, because I have been through a lot in the past 7 years. And I just really thought that God had my back.
And he does.
And that he was setting me up for retirement because of the way that everything transpired. And so I'm trying to deal with the disappointment of feeling like God didn't have my back. And it's like seems like every few years there's another hurdle for me to get over. And it gets draining after a while.
Yeah. All right. Now
I'll never lose my faith. I'll never lose my faith because Jesus has been there for me over and over and over again. But I'm getting older, and it's just getting a lot more difficult.
Okay. I want to hear from Alice, and then I'm going to give you another perspective piece here. Alice, what are you thinking?
Mary, God let you down. That is certainly what it feels like. And it's not the first time he didn't come through like you hoped or thought he would. And I don't think he's the only one. I think you're also disappointed with yourself and disappointed with other people that justice has not occurred in your life. And that's probably a pattern that you have been through for some time. Is there some truth to that?
Yes.
So I believe that part of what you'll need to do in this time is to get angry with God, with yourself, and with those other people that mistreated you, that didn't do what they should have done for you. Because it's that anger that when you can express it and you can feel it with another safe person, that will allow you to get down into the deeper levels of grief that need to take place because you have been let down too many times in your life.
Thank you, Alice.
Now,
that's exactly true. And I have been angry, and I'm not an angry person at all. So I guess God is doing for me what he needs to take care of me.
Mary, maybe you haven't been an angry enough person all along. Those of us who can't access our anger, but we keep suffering mistreatment and loss, it starts to build into a resentment, and then it can slip into a despair and a depression. And so your honesty about this and your insight is crucial, and you'll be able to move forward through this.
You know, Mary, it's a really good example of this thing where until a person is really who they are, somebody can't help them be who they could be. And what I'm saying is, I think Alice is taking you down a road of, okay, look, you're angry at God, you're disappointed. Let's truly express that. And once we express that, now we can deal with God on a realistic basis. It's kind of like my wife and I. Sometimes we have these arguments, and then the next morning or that night, it's the best time we've ever had. You just kind of get it out of the way. And so, but here's the thing. You said, I wanted to believe that God had my back, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here he's asked these disciples, come with me. You come serve with me. You're special. You are the most amazing dozen people. Let's go do this. Now, one of them ends up hanging himself, right? Because he still had the freedom of choice, even though called by Jesus. Then the others go they serve with him. Does he save them from being burned at the stake, being crucified upside down? I mean, all this stuff. And then I think about my wonderful, faithful mother. I was just there in Texas, and they just can't stop this pain in her back. And you'd think, boy, if God ever needed to have somebody's back, it's my mom's back, and heal it. And I prayed healing over her, and I'm telling you, it's frustrating. So what I'm trying to say is, what you're going through is typical for all of us that love Jesus and try to do his will. Maybe things like this haven't happened for you in the past. This could be the first time you've had to be disappointed like this. But I got to tell you, the rest of us have been experiencing these kind of things for a long time. And I don't know if that's helpful. It's just a reminder that Bible says, think it not strange when you go through these fiery trials. And here you've gone through this one in addition to the COVID pandemic and all of that.
Can I just add one more thing? Mary, are you supported? Like, do you have people around you that can pray for you, pray with you, that you can talk with?
For sure. I have a lot of support.
What an amazing gift.
It is a gift. Yeah.
So, Mary, I want you to write up your injustice list of all the times God and others and you yourself have been disappointments, and bring that list to your folks and get angry with them and cry with them.
All right. Really glad that you called. Hold on. I'm going to send you Take Your Life Back. I hope that that's going to be something that will bless your life. You know, I want to mention this to everybody. Of course, on the 7th of November, we have Every Man's Battle coming up. Now, for every one of those guys at Every Man's Battle, there's at least one woman who needs to go to Restore, and that's on November the 14th. Now, Jason Martinkus does Every Man's Battle. Shelley Martinkus does the Restore workshop. This isn't about restoring marriage. We'd hope that that would happen, but it's about restoring you so that whatever you're facing, you're able to recover and experience restoration. So please call us and let us talk to you about Restore, because a lot of women have found hope and help and healing at the Restore workshop experience. But if you think you need that and your husband's never been to Every Man's Battle, or your boyfriend or fiance or whatever, let's get that taken care of first. Get them there. I
think if anybody goes to any of our workshops by the end of 2020, they can look back and say, 2020 wasn't a complete loss.
No.
I mean, that they can have a new outlook, a transformation for 2021, because we're people of hope, and we want to help you do something new in your life.
That is true. Speaking of wanting to help somebody new do something in their life, Medford, Oregon is where Mike is calling from, and he listens on Sirius XM satellite radio channel 131 at 1 p.m. Eastern. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. How about yourself, Steve?
Doing all right. Yeah. Thanks for calling us. And how could we help you today?
Great. I just want to say I am a New Life member, and I really believe in your ministry. I do have a question on Dr. Amen was on the show yesterday, and he said that mental illness is a stigma, and I'm wondering because I have family members that have mental illness. My dad was a child molester, and would that be considered a mental illness? And so I'm just wondering. I want to learn from why Dr. has that.
Okay. Great question, and we'll just try to clarify what he's dealing with when he uses mental illness and stigma in the same sentence there. You can hear the music. We're going to take a break. We'll come right back for more of New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000 is the phone number. Becky Brown, Dr. Alice Benton, Steve Arterburn here. Hang on. We'll be right back after this.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, November 14th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Steve Arterburn here, Becky Brown, Dr. Alice Benton. We're talking to Mike from Medford, and Mike is talking about mental illness, asking some questions. How about we start with you, Alice, and then we'll go to Becky and talk about this and try to clear some stuff up for Mike.
Mike, we can only imagine the nightmare that you have lived through with a father who molested children, perhaps you, and I know that that is a key to your question. Would you tell us more about your story and being growing up with your dad?
Actually, my dad didn't. My dad molested my sisters, and when my sister was 6 months, my mom caught him, and he blamed it on drugs, and my mom let it go. So my dad has molested so many girls. He's dead now, and so that's basically why. I mean, he had to be mental ill in order for him to do that. That's basically my question. Why is that? I mean, mental illness, is it that an illness?
Well, okay, so there is a personal responsibility to certain things, and you can't say that just because he had this very strange proclivity toward young girls, 6 months old, for instance, that he didn't need to do whatever it took to get better. And where that line is, where you don't have the ability to get better, I don't know where that is. When I hear this story, I am more upset with his wife, who wasn't mentally ill, who didn't do what needed to be done, and as a result, many other people were molested and damaged. Have you thought about that, about your mom not acting on this and what that caused with other people?
I did, and I would ask her, when I became an adult, why didn't she do anything? And she just said, "Oh, because I loved your dad and I believed him, and I was stupid." And he married, and him and my mom, they divorced. Same thing happened to his wife, and so that's where I've been in a lot of counseling, and God has healed me on this one particular subject. I just don't understand why people could go and do something like that if they're not, sick.
Well, there is also a thing where a man decides to look at pornography, and then that doesn't give him the same thrill, and so then he starts exploring, and then he ends up looking at child pornography, and then that triggers something in him, and now he's going down that path. So that's a little bit different than kind of what you're saying, that there was this sickness that takes away some of the responsibility of your father. Becky, what are you thinking
Well,
here?
I'm thinking it's pretty complex. Going back to your original question, Mike, you were wondering about the stigma with mental illness. So if you can just give me where is that coming from in light of all of this?
Oh, Dr. Amen. He was on the show yesterday, and he said that, which I really like him. I love it when he's on the show. But I want to know where he said that that people look at mental illness. I can't remember what he said.
Well, it's basically what he says is that mental illness has a stigma to it, which is true. In the culture, we're moving towards a better acceptance that people have struggles, that mental health is an important thing for people to have, but then there are things that people struggle with. The issue with your dad is very complex in that you mentioned drug use and this whole molestation. There's a lot going on there. But the bigger thing about this is that he's gone. And so how do you move forward in your life with healing and to grieve that part of your life and understanding and some clarity? And I think that may be where that question came from, that it was kind of a surprise to you that it was considered a stigma. Am I right, Mike? Is that what you're thinking?
Correct. Right on. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, do you accept the fact that your dad had a lot of different struggles then?
I do, and he actually got arrested, and I don't understand it, but he was a perpetual liar, and the law made him to go see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist said there's no way that this man could have did this. So he had to be evil then. I mean, if he could lie his way out of that's with mental illness.
You can hear the music. Alice,
Mike, your father was a deeply flawed sinner who broke many other people's lives in his own brokenness. I suspect he was also a victim, and he became a perpetrator. And none of that excuses that he continued in that lifestyle and never got the help that he needed. And yet you are breaking such a cycle in doing your own work and gaining your own wisdom.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn. We're just going to finish up with Mike here. And Mike, I want to make this comment first about the psychiatrist. What the psychiatrist said is both interesting, that he said your dad could never do this, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because the psychiatrist didn't know what he was talking about, right? Your dad did this.
Yes.
So we just say, okay, there was a psychiatrist that really didn't do a very good job with my dad, and then we just move on. It's just not it's irrelevant to the story that your dad had a big problem. But I think what we're dealing with here is Dr. Amen wants people to get help. Mm-hmm. And what he's saying is, when we talk about mental illness, sometimes, most of the time, we're talking about the organ of the brain that's malfunctioning. And, when you think about your father, boy, did his brain ever, for whatever reason, malfunction. It didn't have the filter, or it didn't have that thing in it that said, no, we can't do this. This is damaging other people. And so all Dr. Amen is doing with this, the end of mental illness, is trying to get people to fix their brain rather than avoid being declared mentally ill. That's really the whole concept. Go fix your brain, and it doesn't mean that you have this horrific mental illness. You may have a chemical imbalance, and then a hormonal imbalance, a wiring problem, pathways blood flow may be down, all sorts of brain stuff might be there. But in the case of your father, I would just say, no matter what, you must be on a journey to forgive what he did, accept him for what he was. And the same goes with your mother, who, she said she was stupid. There were other things that she was. She was codependent, she enabled, all this kind of stuff. But here's the main thing. I'd want to be a real support to my mom so that maybe she could get better from all this, because she's got to be dealing with quite a bit of shame and agony.
Well, and it's just like what I was saying at the break, too. All of us need to make sense of our stories.
Yes.
We all come from families. People are messy.
Yep, they are.
And so coming to peace and to clarity with where we come from and what that means in our life and what good can we bring into the world. Because a lot of times what happens is we have a really difficult story, like, you know, like what you're talking about, Mike, and then from that becomes a bitter person or an angry person, which you can justify that, but it doesn't make for a transformed life, doesn't make for a life that is going to offer good. So I'm glad you're asking the question, and I would encourage our listeners that if you are struggling with your family of origin story, whatever that is, seek help. There is a way to make order out of the disorder, so that you're not living in a reactive state towards the people that you love now, because now is what's important.
Yeah. Alice, you have a thought?
There's also the spiritual illness side to this, that the more we choose evil, the more evil holds power over us. And we cross a line in addiction, in sexual addiction behavior, where eventually we have lost the power to stop ourselves. Now, if we'll reach out to God and to save people for help, we can regain the power. But at some point, with enough sinful choices and lack of repentance, lack of responsibility taking, sin overpowers us, and then we're in its clutches.
Yep. And, you know, people say to me, is it sin or is it addiction? And I always say, yes. It's both. I've never known an addict who wasn't deeply involved in sin. And most of us sinners are really at least dependent on our favorite little sin and addicted to it, whether it's gossiping or always talking negative about somebody, all these kind of things that are on the inside. Okay, Mike, I'm going to send you a copy of his book, The End of Mental Illness. Hope you'll like that. I think it'll help you here. And before we go on, I just want to say this is a great cautionary tale to anybody who knows somebody is hurting a child and you're not doing anything about it. It is your job to do whatever it takes to get the help that's needed. You know, immediately.
So, you know, it's interesting. I work with a lot of clergy, and this discussion comes up quite a bit, and they wonder about what's the step that I need to take. And I always say, tell somebody. You know, don't keep it to yourself thinking, I don't know how this is all going to turn out, or these people are going to be all upset. Let them be upset.
Right.
For the sake of the child. If you know of anybody that's hurting someone, call your local authority. Let them make the judgment. Don't take this on to yourself. Also, if you're struggling with in this area, because, you know, I know there's a lot of people, because we work with them all the time. If you need to get help, please call us.
Yeah.
And if you need to go to Every Man's Battle, that may be a good first step. You know, that I just think there's so much help available. Don't stay in that dark place.
There's no reason to, and there is a great, great, wonderful world out there once you get this taken care of. Let's go to Kay from Denver, Colorado. KGFT is the station. Kay, you are on the air. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How can we help today?
Can you
What's
hear me
going
okay?
on? Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay.
How can we help?
So I have not even been married 2 years to this man. And there's been a lot of problems with, he's addicted to marijuana. He has been for years and years and years. And when I first met him, he had naked women posters all over in his garage. He has all kinds of magazines and naked women all over his iPad and his phone. And, you know, I mentioned it, and he's like, oh, those happened a long time ago. And I said, well, could you please take them off? They make me feel uncomfortable. And he never has. He has a really bad anger problem. It's not even anger. It's raging mad.
How long did you guys date? How long did you date?
We've known each other 10 years, but we started dating in 2017 and then married in 2018.
Okay. So the anger thing, all sex addicts like him have an anger and rage problem, especially when they are not willing to make any kind of change for the person they supposedly care about. Why did you marry a guy that won't even take down naked pictures in the garage or get them off his phone? Why did you marry him? What do you think would be the reason?
I married him because I've never had a man that I had so much in common with as far as biking and fishing and hiking and boating and hunting and gardening and living out in the country. I mean, politics, religion. We agree on all of that. But when it comes to those women, and he's told me he's lived a dark side, but he wanted to marry a Christian woman and get better.
Okay. So what's the question for us then? What's the question for us?
So my question is, I wanted to get help for him. Right now we are on a 6-month separation because 3 months ago he tried to choke me to death. He was so raging mad. I never called the police. 2 weeks ago, I pulled a gun on me. I pulled the trigger and cocked the gun and was ready to go. He told me, go ahead, put it in your mouth and you'll die quicker. And then I put the gun on him and said, why don't I just kill you now? And he said, I don't even care. And I said, you're right, you don't care. So I put the gun away. He called the police. I was put in jail for a couple days. And that's where I'm at now. So I cannot be around him for 6 months. My kids are telling me not to go back to him, but yet I feel bad for him because he has a good side. He has a really fun side.
Well, wait a second. Let's dissect this a little bit here. It's okay to feel bad for him, right? Yeah, right?
Yep.
But we don't have to be in a relationship with a person we feel bad for. We can feel so bad for him that when we refuse to go back with him, it might wake him up that he can't just continue to live this life the way he's living it. I think somebody should put a restraining order against you to not ever go back with him until one day you're talking with him and he has finally worked on the one thing that you left out when you talked about things in common. He had no character. He did stuff you did, but he had no character. And the best example of that is he just told you to kill yourself at a very vulnerable time. Because you're just an object to him. All those naked women, they're just objects. And every woman is just an object to him. I'm wondering, where in the world did you get this message from the world or somebody that you don't deserve anything more than a man who is addicted to pornography, full of rage, chokes you, and suggests that you kill yourself by putting a gun in your mouth? Who told you? How did you get the feeling that that's all you deserve in this life? Think about that. I want to hear about it. When we come back, you're listening to New Life Live. We'll take a break and come right back with more calls. Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and so often we hear people saying, I know I need something, but I don't know what it is. Well, we've put together the perfect experience for you. It's called Brains, Boundaries, Battles, and the Bible. You're going to hear Dr. Daniel Amen, Dr. Henry Cloud, Dr. John Townsend, Sheila Walsh, and myself, Steve Arterburn.
In this online workshop, you'll participate in general sessions, then break out into groups. These groups, facilitated by licensed Christian counselors, are where true life change happens. You'll take what you've heard in the main sessions and begin to process the areas of your mind and emotions that have kept you stuck. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Please consider joining us December the 5th for Brains, Boundaries, Battles, and the Bible.
Register today to begin experiencing life in a new way. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of 7 books, including Growth Has No Boundaries by Drs. John Townsend and Henry Cloud, Take Your Life Back by Steve Arterburn and Dr. Dave Stoop, and the Emotional Freedom Workbook. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're going to do another program after this. If you'd like to join us after this, 1-800-229-3000. Kay, so what's the answer? What happened early on with you to where you would think it's okay, even though you've been in jail and the children are saying, do not go back with him? Where'd that kind of thing come from?
Because it's very familiar to me. My dad was always very, very angry and drank every night. My first husband of 21 years, same way. He was addicted to pornography, drugs. My boyfriend after I divorced, same thing. My third boyfriend, he was a Mormon, so I thought I was safe. We never had sex. He just was too old for me. So I left him.
So do you care? Do you care that this is what you're settling for, or not?
I do care. I mean, I thought he would be the one because he's very adventuresome and fun, and everybody loves him. He just has
but you've done the research. You've done the research, and pretty much when a guy says, "Put the gun in your mouth and die quickly," we pretty much can say he's not the one. He was never the one.
Kay, I think being alone terrifies you so much. You don't think you can handle being alone, so you would prefer and choose to be with and go back to this man that you know will do more of the same to you.
Yeah. I have a different outlook, though.
What is it?
Kay, I want to give you a hug, although we're socially distanced, so we're not going to do that. But my heart hurts for you. Just especially the way that you just described your experience with men in your life. And that's a wound that has to be healed. And I also heard you say that when you decided to marry him, you believed that you could be the one to help him. And he even said he was going to marry a good Christian woman. I don't want you to be his savior. And, you know, our Savior, Jesus Christ, died for us. I don't want you to die. And you got to the point where you wanted to die, and then you wanted to kill him, and then he wanted you to die. There is no life in this relationship.
So true.
And so I want to encourage you. I would encourage you to, I know you always hate us to say this, Steve, but I would want you to go to Restore. You need some heart healing. I would want you to stay away from this man forever. Let somebody else fix him. It's not going to be you. He's not safe. If there was never any other background that you gave us on the pictures and the pot and all that kind of stuff, and the only story you were telling us that he wanted you to kill yourself, he's dangerous to the very core. And he's not your work. You are your work. And it's hard, Kay. You've had a lot of heartbreak, and this would be a really hard thing to walk away. I know a lot of times when there's been relationships that have not worked out, it feels like if you have to do this one more time, that you feel like you're failing. You're not. This would be the best decision that you would ever make, is to leave this relationship. Do not turn around and go back to him. Let him figure it out. Let the Lord bring somebody else that's stronger and that can make a difference.
And then, if the astounding thing might happen, that he gets recovery and stuff, then that will happen, and you can move into a healthy relationship with a healthy guy. If you go back to him, you are endorsing and excusing everything that has happened so far. All right. Well, it's one of these things where we could go to a call, but I'm just going to ask Dana if you wouldn't mind, just hold on. And we're going to do another program after this. Anybody that wants to, you could watch what we're going to do on Facebook Live, because that's where we're live all the time. Whether we're broadcasting live, you could watch this live. In the meantime, a couple of big issues here. Mm-hmm. One big issue is human responsibility. Where is it and where isn't it? All right, so big mystery. If you're in court, you might have an attorney. Let's say you're an alcoholic. You might have an attorney trying to get you off of whatever you were charged with by saying, well, he's an alcoholic. He's not responsible for what he did. Don't ever think that that's what therapists and alcohol addiction counselors think is the right thing. They're not using alcoholism as an excuse for anything. In fact, I think it's one of the most amazing things how when you're in recovery and you work the steps, you're accepting responsibility for what's happened and you go try to make it right. Restitution, apology, ask for forgiveness, all sorts of stuff that goes on in recovery. But here's the main thing. When it comes to a person who has a brain malfunction, it's a mystery whether they're totally responsible or not. But you know whether or not you're responsible for what has happened. And when we're responsible, we have a choice. Shame, blame somebody else, or go make it right. And to me, that is where you never, ever lose when you decide, I don't know how I got here. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it right with this person. Everybody wins when you go and make it right. So even though we can't figure out whether or not a mass murderer is mentally ill or they just love killing people or whatever, we know what we do, and we can be responsible for that. Any thoughts on that, Becky, Alice?
I think that there is a lot of truth in everything that you're saying because we get confused. We get confused and we get stuck in our feelings and we let our feelings guide us. And a lot of people who do some really bad things, their answer is, I just felt like it, or I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
And that's not a good excuse. It's not valid. And you're responsible for your behavior. Whatever was the cause of it, that's neither here nor there. If you're going to be hateful to somebody, that's on you. And a lot of times we want it to be about the other person or the situation, but really our choices are our own and make a huge impact on the world around us.
Yeah. Alice, you have a thought about this?
I would argue as well that we all have some level of mental instability to mental illness. I have my anxiety that I struggle with. I'm judgmental. I'm critical of other people. We all have something. And we even have the stuff that we're unaware of. I have my faults and shortcomings and sins that I haven't even opened my eyes to yet. But we have a God who will come in and he'll reveal to us just what we can handle at the time. He'll equip us with the grace and the people around us that we'll need to be able to get help and to change and to become better.
Right. And we've said it many times, everybody has something. And if you don't think you have something, well, that's the something right there that you need to deal with.
Yes.
It's the denial or the rationalization or the minimization that's there. Well, we're about out of time. I hope that Dana will hold on. Anybody else want to join us on the next program? 1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000. The other thing I just want to mention, because I did say a couple of issues, is enabling somebody or excusing somebody and letting them off the hook. You must do what you can do to stop somebody from ever hurting themselves and especially somebody else. If you can help us financially, please do. I'll send you a beautiful New Life 2021 wall calendar. Great photography, great scriptural encouragement. I think you'll like it. It's our way of saying thank you for supporting us. I'll remind you tomorrow, it's Life Recovery Today. Dr. Dave Stoop will be on 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the NRB Network. We love you. We care about you. We're grateful that you support this ministry. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need some help, or you could help us. 1-800-229-3000 to join us in the next program.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.